Last song we sang was based on Psalm 130. Had the lines in there. So put your hope in God alone, take courage in his power to save, completely, forever won by Christ emerging from the grave. We need words of hope at certain times, do we not? We need words of power to bring us back to the glory of God in moments that are distressful and moments that are difficult. We've been looking at the Psalms, a particular part of the Psalms lately called the Songs of Ascent. They're found in Psalms 120 to 134. We're going to look at two of them today, and they're songs of pilgrimage. They're people would head out to Jerusalem for a time of renewal and strength in Jerusalem, reminding them of God during the high festivals of the year, and they would travel to Jerusalem. And as you're traveling to Jerusalem, you will go through long stretches where you're in waterless desert. As you're going through these stretches of waterless desert, the people would be carrying babies. They would be carrying all their food. They would be carrying firewood for the trip. They would have tents and blankets. And there would be some elderly folks along who might need a little bit of aid. And as they're traveling through these stretches of desert, you can imagine as they come up to a stream or oasis or a spring of water, something like that, those would be moments to catch a breath, to maybe sit in the shade for a few minutes, to get a good long drink of water, to get some more water to carry along. And you would need those moments of refreshment to get you through the next stretch of desert. It'd be a time for refreshment, a time of restoration. And if you don't have moments of refreshment and restoration, you're not ready for the next stretch of desert. These songs would be sung. Psalms 120 to 134 were songs you would sing as you're traveling along. They're not songs about travel. They're not songs about going through the desert. They're songs about life. And as they were journeying through the desert, maybe a lot of these things would resonate and bring them deeper into the things of God, so that when they went home, they would understand, maybe, during times of life that are like a desert, during times of life that are like the hard moments, maybe they can remember the moments of refreshment to get them through the next stretch of difficult moments. It's remarkable how easy it is for all of us to be emotionally burnt out at times, frustrated by the people around us, frustrated by the struggles in our own life that just don't seem to go away, that just seem to cling to us. And so we're going to look at two Psalms today. Psalm 129 and 130. We're going to do these two together because they are remarkably similar. In both of them, the first three verses are a call out of almost complaint about what's going on in life. And then in both of them, verse 4 becomes a change in the psalm. In verse 4, all of a sudden, you're reminded of the glory of God. And then the last four verses in each psalm are the result of realizing that God is at work midst of desert. They're the results of being hopeful. So I want to bring us to starters in Psalm 129. In verses 1 to 3 there we read, "Greatly they've afflicted me from my youth." Let Israel say that. Whenever we read this, it's kind of a reminder everybody can join in this song. This isn't just sung by some religious leader, but he's bringing us to the fact that this is something that should resonate in all our hearts. "Greatly they've afflicted me from my youth, yet they've not prevailed against me. The plowers plowed upon my back. They have made long furrows." This is graphic imagery. There is an enemy out there, this is saying. It seems to be an external enemy, a communal enemy. And I kind of think, and most scholars do, that this is about a specific enemy. Perhaps it was during the lowest moment of the Old Testament when the Babylonians swept into the nation of Israel. They attacked, and God wasn't with them. God was trying to say to them, "There's sin here. You've neglected me. You become focused on the wrong things." And God lets the enemy swoop in. There's political, economic devastation. Families have been separated. Many are killed. They've lost their homes. They've lost their livelihoods. There's great suffering. Things have gone horribly wrong. And he compares it to an oxen treading across my back, pulling behind it a plow. That's what it feels like my back has been plowed out. We are damaged by this world. First few verses, Psalm 130. "Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of the pleas for mercy. If you, O Lord, should mark iniquities, O Lord, who could stand?" This seems to be more of an internal threat. There's an anguished cry from the depths of the soul. The singer, partly or completely, feels that there is a struggle that has come up, and I am to blame. I am guilty. There is an honest realization of failures. But his distress does not mean defeat. At least it should not. He's crying out of the depths. Now, I mentioned desert and being out in a place that is without water. Well, we're going to go the opposite. We're going to really mix our metaphors. Because out of the depths, it is referring to the other end of Israel, the Mediterranean Sea. And I've said this before, but whenever we hit water in the Old Testament in particular, some in the New Testament too, but mostly in the Old Testament, it's a place of fear. Out of the depths I cry out to you. Out of the depths. This is not crying out of the water. When you cry in the water, this is drowning. This is a last gasp call out that I'm overwhelmed by the sea. Is there anyone out there who can rescue me at this moment of drowning? This is not just a call out that, oh man, things have gone wrong. Feel sorry for me. This is a cry out of absolute desperation, of horror of what is going on. And a cry that I need hope. But this is a cry of horror because I have done something wrong. I am the source of the problem. Both of them, it is a cry out to God in a moment of desperation. So the middle part of Psalm 129 I read, the beginning of this service. The Lord is righteous. He has cut the cords of the wicked. So again, Psalm 129, there's an external threat, and he's talked about this plowman going over his back. God is righteous. The Lord is righteous. This word righteous, it's a very specific technical term. It's not a word that just means that God is holy or something like that. We certainly have those words in the Old Testament lots, but this word is a very specific word. In the Old Testament, the idea was covenant. The reason the Babylonians came along is the Israelis, the Hebrew people, broke the covenant. The covenant was this, in its most basic form: I will be your God, and you will be my people. And then the rest of both the Old Testament and New Testament fill in what that means. What does it mean to be the people of God? What does it mean to have God as our God? They broke it. People broke that covenant. But God, this is a word, very specific word, saying God is faithful to his covenant. God has not changed. God will remain faithful, even where we have not. And as a result, okay, he's brought in this horrible illustration. This is heavy for summer long weekend, I know. But hang with me. He brought this horrible imagery. This is what it feels like to me. It feels like an oxen is plowing over top of me, but God, in his righteousness, has cut the cord or the ropes between the plow and the oxen. God has acted and done something remarkable. God is still at work. We've broken the covenant, but God is still at work. In the middle of Psalm 130, we read, but with you there is forgiveness, that you may be feared. This one, there's an internal threat. And that, I don't know about you, but I might expect there to be fear. And so I go to God with a request for forgiveness. But that's not what happens in this verse. It starts with forgiveness. And what does forgiveness lead to? In this verse, forgiveness leads to the fear of God. Why? Last week, I brought out a little bit of what is the fear of God. Now, if you were not with us, you could find that sermon online easy enough. I encourage you to look it up. It is on our website. Be on our YouTube channel forever, as long as YouTube's around. Fear of God is not so much, I'm walking through a dark room, and all of a sudden somebody jumps out and says, boom! And I jump. That's not the fear of God. Fear of God is something a little bit more deeper than that. It is this idea that I have this horrific realization that, you know what, there is sin that is so deeply entrenched in my heart, there is nothing I can do to fix it. And that's the Old Testament covenant, in a sense. We get the Ten Commandments. They're partially an explanation of how this covenant is going to work out. And God coming along and saying, do this, do that, do this. And do you know how many people follow them? Not me. I break them. I mess them up. The good news is we have a New Testament covenant in which it's based on forgiveness and transformation. It's based on God coming along and bringing forgiveness, and it changes who I am. That's the new covenant. The Old Testament and New Testament alike, though, there has to be this beginning point of realizing there's a horror within my heart. There's something deeply wrong, but it's okay. Because here's the remarkable thing: I'm a God of forgiveness and hope and change. And because that is true, I desperately need to keep that relationship. I am desperate to know Him deeper. I am driving deeper because I'm flabbergasted because of the depths of my sin and the glory of a good God. And I value that relationship more than anything else in this world so desperately that I need to keep it fresh and real and absolute. That's the fear of God. Is that desperately I need to keep this relationship together and right. Ezekiel 33 sums this up in it. It's God giving the prophet the words to speak to explain the relationship. And he says this to the prophet: "And you, son of man, say to the house of Israel, thus have you said, surely our transgressions and our sins are upon us, and we rot away because of them. How then can we live?" And then God turns to the prophet. He says, I want you to tell them this. Say to them, as I live, declares the Lord God, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Now, I talked a moment ago about we need to be desperate for this relationship with God. Do you know what is really incredible? At least it's incredible to me. Just as we are to be desperate for this relationship with God, God is desperate for this relationship with us. And we see this in Ezekiel because he's calling on the people to turn back, and then it almost gets to God. I don't know if this is a fair way to say it. It's almost like he's big. Turn back, he says in Ezekiel 33. And then he repeats it. Turn back from your evil ways. For why will you die, O house of Israel? And the moments going through desert times, in the struggle moments, we need to hold on to this idea that God desperately wants to be in relationship with us. And even though I am a sinner and He is a glorious God, I can have this relationship. And I need to be desperate to be in relationship with Him. We need to hold on to that moment. Because we have hopes in those moments of depths. Going back to Psalm 129, I know I'm putting this in little letters up there. If you can't read it, that's why we have Bibles in the pews. Go ahead and pull them out. Psalm 129, starting verse 5. May all who hate Zion be put to shame and turn backward. Let them be like that grass on the housetops. which withers before it grows up, with which the reaper does not fill his hand, nor the binder sheathes his arm, nor do those who pass by say, blessing of the Lord be upon you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. In other words, may nobody walk by and say anything good about you, and give you any blessings from God. Again, Psalm 129, there's an external enemy. There is somebody coming against the people. But God is righteous. God will bring judgment. The blessing of God will even be held against them. And the result is justice comes that makes things right. Okay, hang on to that thought. I want to look at the end of Psalm 130. So God will be the one who brings justice. At the end of Psalm 130, we read these words that we just sang a few months ago. I wait for the Lord. My soul waits, and in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than the watchman for the morning, more than the watchman for the morning. O Israel, hope in the Lord. For with the Lord there is steadfast love, and with him is plentiful redemption, and he will redeem Israel from all its iniquities. Watchmen, waiting for morning. Well, the call is, let's be like, I got to be honest with you. I'd make a lousy watchman waiting for morning because I got to sleep. I fall asleep at night and I'm gone. Except for last night when somebody decided to shoot off fireworks. But anyways, other than that. The watchman, however, is the person watching over the city, getting ready for the call of alarm, that because he knows that there's an army that can jump out and come help me if the enemy shows up. To be like him is the call. These two sections, Psalms 129 and 130 at the end, in some ways they sound very different. But really they come to the same idea. One, there will be justice. The other one, wait. Wait upon God. Find your confidence in. Both of them are really calling to us to look for God. Say, do you know what? There's going to be hard times. There's going to be times where God's justice is needed. There's going to be times where I have to wait upon God. In both cases, let's find our hope in God, on what he will do. Finding a desperate need to stay with God. Hebrews chapter 12 is an interesting little chapter of the Bible. It starts off with a great cry. I've looked at this chapter not that long ago in another sermon, but it's a good one to keep coming back to, because the chapter before this is a description of all these great heroes of the faith. He walks right through the Old Testament, describes character after character after character, saying, let's be like this person. And then he gets to the end in Hebrews 12, and he says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Now, the author of Hebrews We don't know much about him. He obviously had a heart of a pastor, probably was a pastor for a group of people. And that things are going wrong. And the people are calling out to him saying, hey, we need answers. Why is the world the way that it is? Why do I sometimes struggle with sin still? Why does my spouse or my kids, why are they struggling? Why have things gone wrong when we should have things going right? I mean, we're following a good God, right? We're following a powerful God, right? And the author of Hebrews puts together, we go through the whole book, he frames this relationship with God. Here's our good God. Here's our sin. Let's fear God. So he's kind of gone through what we've talked about. And then he comes to this and says, okay, you want everything to go right? How? You think everything should go? Why didn't things go right for Jesus? I mean, he was willing to die for us. He's our example. Things didn't always go right for him. There might be something deeper that has to happen than just everything going right. Remember what God has done. Remember where you've come from. You know what? Things are not going well, maybe at this moment. But has God done good things? Have you grown at any stage of your life? And the answer is yes. You see God at work. And then he picks it up. If you go to Hebrews 12, verse 3, it says this. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against him, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. Continually remember that this is your God. A while back, David Crawford mentioned that he had a song he wanted to sing on this particular Sunday. And listen to it at practice this morning. David, you can come up if you like. Dave? All right, there you go. You can come on. He mentioned he wanted to sing this song this week, and we were listening to it at practice this week, and it struck me, you know what, this fits the sermon. So we're going to take a break. I'm going to come up again in a moment and just finish the sermon off. But this is a great reminder of God. And the God who is there in those moments of storm. So we're going to take just a moment to listen to this song.
He can calm the storms, make the sun shine again. eagle through the sky. Among the peaks, my soul can be found. But then an unexpected storm, it may drive me from the heights. It may bring me low, but it won't take me down. I know the master of the wind. I know the maker of the rain. He can calm the storms, make the sun shine again. I know the master of the wind. I know the master of the wind. I know the maker of the rain. He can calm the storm, make the sun shine again. I know the master of the wind. Let Jesus calm the storm, make the sun shine again. 'Cause He is the master of your wind.
Thanks, Dave. The storm. We had some wild ones yesterday. It reminded us of the fear that comes in those moments. And yet, God's still in control. And that's the call upon us today. I want us to when we leave here in a few moments, to leave refreshed. To leave knowing that this is a moment in which God is still at work. Not feeling desperate because life is scary, but feeling desperate to know Jesus more. To knowing the remarkable state that we are in. That God, the God of the universe, the almighty, amazing, loving God, this God wants to be in relationship with me. And how incredible that is. We need to stay and pray for a few moments at the end to know this refreshing, to know this hope. Please do. There will be inevitable moments of desert. And because that is true, we need to learn again the goodness of God and be desperate to have it fully brought out in our lives. Do what it takes to again remember that. I'm going to call our worship team forward. We're going to take a moment. We're going to sing a familiar old song of the church. It is well, my soul. Be reminded again, God is at work in the dark night.